The 19th century witnessed some of the most pivotal moments in history, events that reshaped empires, sparked revolutions, and propelled humanity into the modern age. From the abolition of slavery to the first flashes of electric light, this was an era of progress, conflict, and invention. In this video, we'll uncover 11 key events that not only changed the course of the 19th century, but also laid the groundwork for the world we live in today. Battle of Trafalgar. On 21st October, 1805, world naval history was marked by the Battle of Trafalgar, a battle considered by the British as the most important in the Napoleonic Wars, even in their entire maritime history. This resounding victory saved England from the threat of invasion by Napoleon's army, firmly protecting the sovereignty and position of this island nation. Although in reality, Napoleon had abandoned his plan to invade the shores of England beforehand, the pivotal importance of the Battle of Trafalgar cannot be denied. On that fateful day, facing the powerful fleet of the Franco-Spanish alliance with a superior number of warships, the British fleet, under the skillful command of Admiral Horatio Nelson, courageously welcomed the battle and achieved a resounding victory. The outcome of the battle completely thwarted Napoleon's ambitions of oceanic dominance, while firmly establishing the dominant position of the Royal Navy of Great Britain throughout the following century. The victory at Trafalgar was the solid foundation for the strength of the British Empire on the international stage. If the French had won this decisive battle, Napoleon could have fully restored his plan to invade England, and perhaps the French language would have become the most widely spoken language in the world. Abolition of slavery. The fight against slavery had been smoldering since the late 18th century worldwide, and the British Empire, one of the most powerful empires of the time, was not exempt from that historical trend. Although initial efforts to abolish slavery had emerged earlier, it was not until 1807 that the first significant victory truly came to the abolitionist movement. Under the leadership of William Wilberforce, a determined and passionate politician, slavery was abolished in the British Isles. However, this victory was only partial, as it did not completely end the trafficking and use of slaves in the vast colonies of the British Empire. After years of relentless struggle, with a series of laws and legal reforms being enacted, slavery was finally completely abolished in the British Empire in 1838. On the other side of the Atlantic, France also witnessed changes in the fight against slavery. The French revolutionary government issued a decree abolishing slavery in 1795, but this regime was reinstated by Napoleon Bonaparte during his rule. As the wave of opposition to slavery spread worldwide, the British played a pioneering role in the fight against the slave trade. The Royal Navy was mobilized to suppress slave ships operating off the coast of West Africa, making a significant contribution to ending the transatlantic slave trade. Meanwhile, in the United States, slavery became a deeply divisive issue in society, pushing the country to the brink of civil war. The abolitionist movement grew stronger in the North, while in the South, where the economy relied on slave labor, there was a staunch defense of slave ownership rights. This irreconcilable conflict ultimately led to the bloody American Civil War, ending with the victory of the Northern Union forces and the complete emancipation of slavery throughout the United States. Battle of Waterloo. The Battle of Waterloo, one of the most famous battles in human history, marked the end of Napoleon Bonaparte's ambition to dominate Europe and close the era of Napoleon's turbulent wars. Despite suffering a bitter defeat in the invasion of Russia and being forced to retreat to Paris, Napoleon still refused to accept his fate. Exiled to the island of Elba, this ambitious emperor continued to nurture his desire for revenge. In a short time, Napoleon escaped from exile, returned to France, and rallied a powerful army with the support of loyalists. However, Napoleon's dream of restoring the empire was quickly extinguished at Waterloo. On this battlefield, he faced a powerful military alliance consisting of the armies of England, the Netherlands, Prussia, Hanover, Nassau, and Brunswick. Under the skillful command of Arthur Wellesley, the Duke of Wellington, who would later be praised as one of the greatest generals in world military history, the Allied forces dealt Napoleon a decisive defeat, completely ending his power in Europe. The victory at Waterloo elevated Wellington's name to the ranks of national heroes in England, paving the way for him to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the future. South American independence. At the beginning of the 19th century, a revolutionary wave and independence movement erupted fiercely throughout the Latin American region, which had long been under the dominion of the Spanish and Portuguese empires. The decline of these powers, along with the decay of colonial rule, created favorable conditions for the colonies to struggle for freedom. From 1811 to 1828, a series of Latin American countries successively declared independence, breaking free from the domination of colonial empires. Paraguay, Argentina, Chile, Guatemala, Brazil, Peru, and Uruguay, after years of living under foreign rule, finally gained the right to determine their own destiny. The path to independence for the Latin American countries was not without challenges. They had to confront fierce resistance from forces loyal to colonial authorities. However, the desire for freedom and independence surged strongly within the hearts of the people, turning into an unstoppable revolutionary wave. Leading the independence movement in Latin America were talented and passionate leaders such as Miguel Hidalgo in Mexico, José de San Martín in the southern region of the continent, and especially Simón Bolívar. Known as the Liberator, Bolívar became the symbol of the struggle for independence in Latin America. With military prowess and strategic vision, Bolívar led the people of Venezuela, Bolivia, Colombia, Panama, Ecuador, and Peru to achieve independence, contributing to the transformation of the continent's political map. Railways and steam. George Stephenson, known as the father of railways, made his mark in human history with a groundbreaking invention, the steam locomotive running on rails. Stephenson's pioneering idea quickly attracted the attention of investors, and during the years 1820 and 1830, hundreds of miles of railways were built and successfully tested. The birth of railways brought about a revolution in transportation, commerce, and social life. Thousands of miles of railway tracks were laid around the world, connecting distant cities and towns, significantly reducing travel time. Railways not only facilitated economic development, but also opened up travel opportunities for low-income individuals who previously could not afford expensive and slow means of transportation. The end of isolationism in Japan. For over 2 centuries, Japan has isolated itself from the outside world through the Sakoku policy, which strictly prohibited foreigners from entering the country or Japanese people from leaving, with the possibility of severe punishment, including death penalty. However, the mysterious veil of the land of the rising sun was torn apart in 1854, when a powerful American naval fleet commanded by Commodore Matthew Perry unexpectedly appeared in Japanese waters, demanding that the Tokugawa shogunate government open its ports for American ships to resupply and repair. Faced with the overwhelming power of the American fleet, Japan was forced to sign a treaty of friendship with the United States, marking the beginning of its interaction and integration with the world. A few years later, Japan continued to sign similar treaties with Western powers. In 1861, a Japanese diplomatic mission was sent to the United States to officially ratify the Treaty of Friendship. In 1868, the Meiji Restoration erupted, overthrowing the Tokugawa shogunate regime and ending the Edo period that had lasted for over 250 years. Japan officially opened its doors to the world, entering a new era with extensive reforms in all fields, laying the foundation for its strong resurgence in the following decades. Invention Lightbulb. Although Thomas Edison is widely known as the father of the light bulb, The history of this invention has undergone a long journey with many important contributions before he was granted a patent for his version in 1879. The story of the light bulb begins in 1800, when Italian physicist Alessandro Volta invented the voltaic pile, the first method of producing a stable electric current. During his research, Volta was also the first person to create electric light by heating a conductor with an electric current. A few years later, in 1802, British chemist Humphrey Davy connected carbon electrodes to the voltaic pile and created the arc lamp, a major breakthrough in applying electricity to lighting. In the following decades, many scientists and inventors continuously worked to improve the design of electric lamps. Most notably, Joseph Swan, an English physicist and chemist, invented the incandescent lamp using a platinum filament, which was patented in 1878 and publicly demonstrated in February 1879. However, Swan's lamp had a short lifespan and low luminous efficiency, making it unsuitable for practical applications. Recognizing the great potential of Swan's invention, Thomas Edison quickly improved the design by replacing the platinum filament with a carbon filament, increasing the lifespan and luminous efficiency of the light bulb. Edison was granted a patent for this improved design and later sued Joseph Swan for patent infringement. However, Edison lost the lawsuit, and the two eventually collaborated to establish a joint company for the production and commercialization of light bulbs. The advent of the light bulb has brought about a revolution in human history, ending dependence on oil lamps and providing convenient and efficient lighting for mankind, while also laying the foundation for the development of electronic devices in the 20th century. The American Civil War. The American Civil War, which took place from 1861 to 1865, was one of the most devastating and brutal events in the world in the 19th century. This fierce fratricidal war claimed the lives of approximately 620,000 to 750,000 soldiers and countless civilians. However, from the ashes of war, a new chapter was opened for the United States. Over 4 million slaves were emancipated, marking a significant step in the fight against slavery and promoting the struggle for equality for black people. The victory of the Union in the North reshaped the destiny of the United States, affirming the unity of the nation and laying the foundation for its strong development in the 20th century. Although racial discrimination still persists in American society, the Civil War sowed the seeds of freedom and equality, becoming a guiding light for the United States on its path to becoming a leading world power. Edison's invention: telephone. In 1875, Alexander Graham Bell achieved a significant milestone in the history of invention with the creation of the first telephone. This groundbreaking invention eliminated geographical barriers in communication, allowing people to instantly connect over long distances. Previously, transmitting information could take days, weeks, or even months, but now it could be done in an instant. However, like many other great inventions, the story of the telephone does not revolve around just one name. In fact, Alexander Graham Bell was not the only person to conceive the idea of transmitting sound through electricity. Prior to him, in 1849, Italian inventor Antonio Meucci began researching this idea, but due to financial difficulties, he had to abandon the unfinished project. Bell's invention was built upon the foundation of research and ideas from those who came before him, and it even faced controversy over copyright. On the day Bell filed a patent application for the telephone, another American engineer named Elisha Gray also filed a patent application for a similar device. In the end, Bell's lawyer arrived at the patent office before Gray, helping Bell secure intellectual property rights for this historic invention. The Scramble for Africa. Although the era of colonialism began around 1500, after the New World was discovered, it was not until the 19th century that it entered its most explosive and brutal phase, especially in the continent of Africa. Disregarding the indigenous people, and the traditional borders between African communities, the European powers arbitrarily divided this continent at the Berlin Conference from 1884 to 1885. This conference was organized solely for the purpose of dividing Africa's cake among colonial empires, regardless of the opposition of the indigenous people. The Berlin Conference opened the door to fierce colonial competition in Africa, lasting until 1914, when the final colonial map was completed. During this time, the African people suffered the brutal consequences of exploitative colonial policies, from resource extraction and forced labor to bloody massacres. To this day, the continent of Africa still bears the heavy consequences of this dark period. The arbitrarily drawn borders by European powers continue to cause ethnic conflicts and political instability. The economies of many African countries still depend on former colonial powers, while the people continue to live in poverty due to the depletion of natural resources at cheap prices. The Scramble for Africa is a clear testament to the brutality of colonialism, leaving unhealed wounds on the dark continent and serving as a valuable historical lesson for all mankind. The invention of the radio. For many people, Guglielmo Marconi is the father of radio, but in Russia, Alexander Stepanovich Popov is the one honored for this invention. In fact, May 7th is celebrated in Russia as Radio Day, to commemorate Popov's invention in 1895, coinciding with the year Marconi announced his own invention. The truth is that many research and inventions have contributed to the birth and improvement of the radio. Determining who was the first to invent the radio has become complex and controversial. However, the importance of radio in revolutionizing communication and changing the course of history cannot be denied. Since its inception, wireless communication has become an integral part of human civilization, influencing all aspects of life, from daily communication to the outcomes of wars. Human history has witnessed countless events and inventions that have the potential to change its course. If the War of 1812 had taken a different direction, the United States could have played a different role on the international stage. If Carl Benz had not invented the first car in 1885, what would the world of transportation look like today? If Marie Curie had not dedicated herself to her research, humanity's understanding of radiation could have been delayed for decades. The 19th century was a period of significant upheaval and breakthroughs that shaped the modern world.